bring me happy. Thank you, happy.
Congratulations, you've made it. We've been waiting just for you to tune in, and now we can start the show. Lili, take it away.
Certainly. Welcome to A Captain's Log. I'm Lili Fox-Lim, and I don't know what has gotten into my co-host Bryan this week, but I do know I'm really excited for this week's special guest interview, and I really want to know if he can talk.
Mum's the word for now, Lils.
Oh.
Let's catch up in a bit for our Star Trek news and views, shall we?
But of course, Mon Ambassador. Well, what should we start with but a dose of discovery, eh?
Yes.
As we all know, there was a sad announcement as we were finishing filming our third season of A Captain's Log. Star Trek Discovery announced that season 5 would be its final year for the show.
5.
And Discovery was an amazingly popular and polarizing series that spawned the resurgence of the Trek franchise on television. In April, the first 2 episodes of the final season aired, titled Red Directive and Under Twin Moons. So without giving too much away, I can say that the Romulans are back.
Yes!
We will encounter an 800-year-old bird of prey, which will begin the start of an epic journey to conclude an iconic series.
I'm very excited to see Discovery's finale. Of course, this is so far a very bittersweet season with many emotional highs and lows each week, but not all is lost. Don't forget the new Starfleet Academy series is set to go into production here in 2024. We were just talking about this in the dressing room, right? Star Trek Starfleet Academy is confirmed to take place in the 32nd century within the Star Trek Discovery timeline. The new series will also return to San Francisco after Discovery set the school in outer space. Because they had to, is the burn, right? Alex Kurtzman confirmed that the first season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy will be 10 episodes. Could it be possible that even Colm Meaney could make an appearance?
Ooh, Bryan, you do know he has been dead for like 1,000 years by the time that series takes place,
true.
right? But we do have a hologram Janeway in Prodigy, so who knows?
We do.
Hologram Miles, maybe? I don't know. He's certainly known as the most important man in Starfleet history, so maybe his contributions to the service after he left Deep Space Nine for a professorship at the Academy helped to cement this title.
I like where
right?
you're going, yes.
Let's talk one of our favorite series, Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
BK, what you got that's hot?
All right, so actor David Ayala, who plays Booker, is excited for Star Trek Discovery fans to see an additional scene filmed after the show's cancellation was announced. But Paramount Plus allowed for 3 days of additional filming directed by Olatunde Osunnabi to create a coda for Star Trek Discovery's story and characters. Now, Discovery bookended things with these additional scenes, and actor Doug Jones said it gave him closure. Michelle Paradise spoke about filming additional scenes for Star Trek Discovery's epilogue and how they aren't closing out the series with a cliffhanger that will never be resolved.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
The title of the final episode of Discovery is Life Itself and is written by Kyle Jarrow and Michelle Paradise. Star Trek Discovery streams new episodes Thursdays on Paramount Plus.
A Captain's Log returns in a moment.
Welcome back to A Captain's Log. Carel Struycken is a well-known actor, one of the tallest actors alive, standing at a massive height of 7 feet. He's known for such shows as Twin Peaks and Star Trek The Next Generation, and also for films like The Addams Family, Men in Black, and many others. Struycken has a lifelong interest in permaculture, gardening, and the future of humanity.
Yes, he's such a cool guy,
He
indeed.
really is.
Some of Carel's roles are Lurch in the Addams Family movies that you may know him for. Mr. Homn, of course, in Star Trek The Next Generation. That's where we really know him from. And, of course, the giant and fireman in the hit TV series Twin Peaks.
Let's welcome Carel Struycken to our Quadrant of the Galaxy with Star Trek's only broadcast TV talk show. Welcome to A Captain's Log.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So you are known for 2 iconic roles in Hollywood, one on film and one in TV. How did you take your facial expressions and demeanor as a silent character from Mr. Homn in Star Trek The Next Generation to that of the character Lurch in The Addams Family?
I think it just goes automatically. You're in a certain environment and you know the story and you know the character. So it's not something I put much thought in. It especially with Star Trek, it was kind of challenging to not have any dialogue. And actually, there's one scene in one of, I forget what the title was, where I pin Roxana Troy's dress. I decided to put all these pins in my mouth so that there was at least a reason why I didn't talk.
Now, what are the challenges of performing in a non-verbal role as you did with Loxana Troy's valet, Mr. Homn? You are seriously the most masterful pointer to get your non-dialogue point across when Patrick Stewart's character, Captain Picard, arrives for a dinner date at Loxana's quarters, and this was in the season 2 episode Manhunt. Now, your smiles and reactions are so evident that dialogue was not even necessary, right? How do you train yourself and prepare for this type of non-verbal pantomime style of acting?
Maybe because I am rather shy, and very often I try to express myself non-verbally. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Was your character's persona originally designed by the producers to have taken a vow of silence, or was that something that developed later? As you had portrayed the character in your first appearance in the season 1 episode Haven, you did utter one small line only, thank you for the drinks. But after that, not another sound was heard from you.
No, the way I personally interpreted it was that because Roxana Troy can communicate telepathically, so I assumed that I could too. So there was never any reason to talk, at least to use my voice. And so, yeah, that was it to me. I was in contact with her. I was communicating with her, but there was no need to talk. I forget if that was also the episode where I drink a lot of blue fluids. Yeah, and they had, even though it was a double-walled glass, so there wasn't that much to drink, there was still a considerable amount of fluid that I had to drink. So we had made a kind of a clear path to the bathroom in between. Yeah.
Now, while you were still making appearances with Loxana on The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine began its run with Ambassador Troy appearing in multiple episodes, but you are conspicuously absent. Were you offered the opportunity to appear on these shows in Deep Space Nine, or what can you tell us about your acting engagements during this time around 1992?
No, there was a perceived conflict while I was doing the Addams Family, but that was still a Next Generation when we were doing TNG, STNG. And I could actually have done that episode because it was literally 2 sound stages across from each other. So all they would have had to do is walk over and say, do you need Carl on that day? And they didn't do that. So I was pretty upset about that. And I guess once they did an episode without me, they thought, well, we can just continue doing that. So no, I would have loved to continue. Yeah.
Population 1, a cult classic, was released in the International Film Festival, Rotterdam. Carl, this time you were the associate producer and you also edited the film as a change of pace behind the camera. Can you tell us a bit about this cult hit of your film and your memories about it, please?
Initially, I went to film school, and my focus was on directing, and I directed a 30-minute like final movie at the film school. And then I came to California, and I decided to, well, not I decided, but I partnered up with another person from Holland who had already made a movie here, and his name was René Dowler. And it was the period when the Laserdisc had just come out. And that was a very exciting medium to us. But we also thought, if you have people don't watch a movie more than once. That was kind of, in those days it was. Nowadays, I mean, my kids were watching the same movie over and over and over and over again. But anyhow, in those days, it was you watched the movie once and that was it. So we figured out that if we wanted to do something for that medium, it would have to be multi-layered. And anyhow, we ended up building our own soundstage, and it included a 24-track recording studio because we wanted to record everything live. So yeah, that was it. That was Population One. Yeah, it was quite an adventure, yeah. And then the financing ran out halfway through, and so the director, René Dowler, had to completely rewrite the scripts to be able to use the footage that we had already shot in a different story that would require a simpler environment. And well, so we ended up shooting a lot of it in the main character's apartment, which was above an ice cream store, ice cream parlor. And that was also problematic because the refrigerators from the ice cream parlor were constantly blowing out our lights. So because you had all these spikes when they went on and off. So yeah, it was a complicated shoot. Well, we weren't focusing on renting it out as a studio. And that was not really part of our skill set. So at a certain point, we had to give up the lease, and the person who took it over had it was always rented out from that moment on. So yeah, and the difference was that he put in different bathrooms, nicer bathrooms, and that made all the difference. And we were focused on making a movie and not having a nice bathroom. So yeah, it was just I guess a misunderstanding of what people want in life. A bathroom or a movie.
Carel, you were born in the Netherlands. How did your dreams of Hollywood, California come to open up doors so wide that you're now known internationally for so many roles? Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I was born in Holland, and my father was a doctor, and he couldn't deal with the weather in Holland. So the first chance he got, we moved to Curacao in the Caribbean. And we lived there until I was 15. And then I finished high school in Holland. went to film school there, and then came here. I was living in a neighborhood under the Hollywood sign, the Hollywood Hills, it's called. And it had its own little supermarket. And so there were all these directors who lived in the neighborhood, and you would walk through the neighborhood and you could hear typewriters and you could hear music being composed, and it was a pretty exciting era. And now the creative people can't afford to live there anymore, so it has changed a lot. So people would just ask me in the supermarket, can you be in our movie? And so I did a lot of monster movies with latex that I have never seen myself, but yeah.
Carel, you moved to Avalon on Santa Catalina Island off the coast of California after your kids went off to college. Tell us if this is a life of retirement for you, as in an intentional resting place, or if you're just trying to get away from all of the fandom and trying to live a regular life with your wife.
No, I had nothing to do with it. My wife took a job. She's a doctor, and she took a job on Catalina Island. And this was just before the whole housing market crashed. And so I said, we have to sell now. So it made sense to follow her to Catalina Island. And it was pretty complicated to go back and forth. So if I had an audition or so, it wasn't that easy. So I was very happy to be back on the mainland.
Was there much difference in the transition from working in Star Trek, The Next Generation, to Babylon 5 within the same science fiction genre?
Babylon 5 was set up in a very different way. They were really kind of much lower budget, and they managed to do amazing stuff in spite of the lower budget. They were the first production, as far as I know, that was using Amiga computers to do the whole background, and like the space station, the big cylinder, right?
Yes.
That was all done in an Amiga, and so it was kind of exciting to kind of get a little peek of what was going on there. I know that a lot of the stuff they did was with green screens and well, computer generated backgrounds and things like that. Well, and the Amiga computer was just a consumer device, right? Mm-hmm. It was the first computer that was set up to work with a TV signal, and so it was quite unique.
Okay, so Carel, you were in the Star Trek Voyager Season 2 episode The Thaw with the great Michael McKean as Fear the Clown. Your role was the Spectre, which is seemingly a combination of Bigfoot and a rotting corpse. Can you tell us about your experience auditioning for this and working on set with Garrett Wang and Roxanne Dawson?
Very different indeed, yeah. You couldn't even see my face, right? I was just stuck in a big black pumpkin. At least that's what it looked like, as far as I can remember. It was an interesting story, and otherwise, I think it was just one scene I was in, right? So I don't remember that much of my actors, but yeah, I remember it was an interesting story. The first time when I auditioned for Mr. Homn, well, not for Mr. Homn, they wanted me for a part that was just going to be a one-off. And I actually had the audacity to say, You know, I really want to hold out for a recurring part. And well, thankfully they said, okay, we'll do that. Um, so yeah, when I had a chance to come back and do anything on Star Trek, I said yes. It would have been at least 6 times and maybe 7. But that was because of the whole Addams Family thing.
Not counting the revival series in 2017, you were in 5 episodes of the mystery drama series Twin Peaks, which is the same number of appearances that you made in Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, being completely candid, which role did you prefer portraying, Mr. Homn or the Giant? Do you feel this is making yourself as an actor typecast? Or are you responding to a particular casting call that requires your stature as a performer?
No, I've just been lucky to be part of a TV series that I really loved myself. I mean, I didn't used to watch TV that much, but Twin Peaks and Star Trek, that's what I was watching. So it was just great to be invited. And I don't think it was really the same kind of character. In Twin Peaks, I'm somebody from another reality, or how do you call it, from another dimension or something, you know?
Yeah.
So it was very different.
Yes, that's right. You played multiple roles in Twin Peaks. Now, what were the differences between the previous series and the new series playing these roles?
I see it as the same character. Well, of course, it's not always clear what David Lynch has in mind with the story, but I had the sense that I was somebody who was trying to control what was going on in the world and trying to steer it in a more benign direction.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Being closely associated with the character of Lwaxana Troi, who was portrayed by Majel Barrett, the wife of Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, was there any amount of extra pressure to perform above your regular level of professionalism, knowing that you're working with such a royal figure within the franchise? And how was it working with Majel? Was she funny or serious, or what kind of stories can you tell us about your interactions with her?
A great experience to work with her. She's very outspoken, so not unlike Lwaxana Troi. And yeah, she has a sense of humor. And after Gene Roddenberry passed away, she would give these Christmas parties, and we were often invited to those. And it was just, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Majel was very much a pro, so she didn't pull rank on anybody, so to speak.
Carel, you've had a chance to work with every principal cast member of the Next Generation cast, mostly with Marina Sirtis and Patrick Stewart in your first couple appearances, but let's talk about Half a Life and Cost of Living, where you were able to play more with LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Brent Spiner, and Gates McFadden. Do you have any fun behind-the-scenes anecdotes as you all hung around each other while waiting for sets to be dressed or technical issues to be sorted out or what have you? And which cast members stood out to you the most? You know, particularly with their professionalism or creativity or even their joviality on set?
Good question.
Well, the main thing I remember is that because I only came back once a year, because they were working together practically every day, or at least a big part of the year, it became more and more like a school outing that was getting to be out of control. They were constantly doing practical jokes on each other, and the directors had to kind of say, okay, come on, guys, let's get started. And of course, they were total professionals, so it never interfered with anything. But it was very noticeable that with each year it got unrulier. Well, I didn't know it was going to be the last time. Just because they thought I wasn't available, they wrote me out of the one that I was originally supposed to be in. So I never it was never clear that this was the last episode for me. Well, I still run into them. We do a lot of conventions, right? And so I still get to see many of them.
Carel, thank you so much for spending a half hour with Lili and I here on A Captain's Log.
And remember, Trekkies, turning to wonder, philosophy, and that age-old Trek utopian universe that we all love is meant to be shared. Share Trek, reap the rewards of unity.
You couldn't be more right, Lili. Star Trek is also infinite diversity and infinite possibilities of exploration, plus throw in a travel perk of vacation on Risa for archaeology.
Archaeology, my kind of fun, and Jean-Luc Picard's to boot. Bye for now.
Hello, happy, my old friend. I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy. My old friend, I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy. My old friend, I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy.